Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, how about now? All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out once again. My name is Bruce B. I'll be emceeing tonight, and we have such an honor to have Tyrone Beverly joining us, everybody.
It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, make some noise. Yeah, these open mics start out with a live interview with somebody inspiring from the community who's doing good work. And I've seen this man live in action. Tyrone Beverly, Tyrone runs an awesome nonprofit called I'm Unique, and they do free yoga events. They do events at Mile High Stadium and Coors Field. And where I met him was at the Denver Zoo doing a free yoga event. And then afterwards, we went and did an event called Breaking Bread and Breaking Barriers. And he had the police chief. This was right around the time after Mike Brown was murdered by a cop. He had the police chief of Denver Police there at his Breaking Bread and Breaking Barriers event. So if you could just tell us a little about I'm Unique and a little about your vision with that and what you're bringing to the table here in Denver.
So yeah, I'm Unique is a nonprofit organization. We focus on facilitating humanity. And the mission of I'm Unique is to create a culture of health, individual growth, and social change. And the way that we do that is we go into different cultural facilities like museums and zoos and places like Walmart, like you said, the Bronco Stadium. And we bring people together who typically don't share the same space. And as we talk about facilitating harmony and humanity, we bring people who actually disagree on certain topics so we're not biased. And we can have a real honest conversation around, not saying that we have the answer, but an alternative way of living to create a better living space for us as we try to pursue our greatest potential.
What are some of your favorite events that you guys as I'm Unique have helped throw over the course of your, and then how many years too? How many years and a couple of your favorite events?
So I don't have a favorite anything. I don't have a favorite food. I don't have a favorite song. I don't have a favorite anything. I try to just take in the moment that I'm given and just honor that. And I've had some events I really enjoyed. And that would be all of them. I love the one at the Bronco Stadium. It's pretty powerful. It's a lot of people who come out. But I also love it at Walmart, places that people aren't really typically practicing, and it really disrupts the norm. And I think that's what we're trying to do is disrupt what's been going on and get people thinking differently about how we can actually approach our lives. And those are the things that really interest me. It's not just how many people can come out, it's also like what can we do to create some real change every day that may be invisible, that people may not be aware of. And when I see somebody lighting up and they just say, you know what, I can do this differently. I don't have to live in pain and anxiety because this is all that life has to offer, and then they see that there's something going on inside as well. Those are the things that really inspire me and get me going and make me feel good and help me sleep at night. It's when people see a different perspective and say, I can change my life and I too can become a better person and live a better life.
Oh, wow. Well, that is what we do here. We are Change Colorado, and that's why we're collaborating with I'm Unique. And if we can collaborate in any other ways, you just let us know how we can help you. We Are Change is, for those of you, there's some new faces in the room. We Are Change has been around almost a decade now, focused on being the media, covering alternative things that maybe the mainstream won't talk about. Growing up, this group has talked a lot about 9/11 truth and how, well, 3 buildings collapsed at free fall speed and only 2 planes crashed into New York City that day. And you can kind of do the math on that yourself. You can kind of look into it on your own time, but there was a $2.3 trillion in missing money. And that money was being investigated at the 2 places those terrorists happened to hit, the Pentagon and Building 7, which wasn't even hit by a plane. So there's heavy truths like that that are like, wait, what? Our government might have had the part in the biggest terrorist attack on our soil? Yes, they've done it many times before that. That's their MO. And that's hard for some people to hear. And this group, We Are Change, has focused on, instead of just pointing out all those negatives that like, hey, yeah, we got lied to, just like in Vietnam, just like in many wars before. But what can we do about it? And so this group has shifted a lot to more of the solutions-based thinking, solutions creative, like instead of tearing down the Federal Reserve System or the income tax system, which we don't like, let's create the local time bank that we do like. Let's create, the connections and bridges between the different groups doing good works. And so that's why we like to do these open mics in a setting where there's no booze. It's a higher vibration here, and there's a lot more presence. Not one person talking in this room right now. We have full presence, and that is a unified field that we really like to tap into. So I'd like to ask you, was there an aha moment for you that was like, I have to do this? Or like, was there anything that just like kind of like set it all off, like a story that might have set I'm Unique all in motion?
I wouldn't say it was one. I would say it was many things happening in concert. And what I've seen is people are suffering from value in life, and they're deficient in their values. And when you think about our human potential, and when we get educated and we have to conform to this sick society as though it's going to make us well, we have to change the narrative. We have to do things differently if we want to get out of this. And those are the things that really sparked my interest. In high school, I got kicked out of class all the time for bringing in my own books and kind of challenging the curriculum. And the teacher said, that's not part of the curriculum, we can't talk about these things. And I would get kicked out of class, and I would go study on my own. And that was a starting point for me to say that they are feeding us what they want us to know, they're feeding us what they want us to think, and this has to change. And over time, I began to develop new ways of seeing the world and seeing myself in the world. And that was the foundation in which we got started, saying, okay, there's some things that need to be done differently because they are literally killing us, and sometimes they're letting us know, and we don't have the resources. And when you think about leadership, every leader that I looked up to, whether it's Malcolm X or Bruce Lee, or they became a target, and their lives were taken. So when you have a leader, typically you become a target. So what if the leadership was by the community, and they didn't have one person to identify, but it was the actual culture and the way that people show up in the world? And that was the foundation in which I'm Unique stands on. So you can't have a target for a person. You have to now target an entire culture of people that are living this lifestyle of compassion, of creating new opportunities. Because when you become this leader, you become this target, and then the dream dies with you. And it's time to change that.
It's time that we all step into our own power as leaders, and that we all speak our truth. I'm learning so much by just saying that more and more, like, hey, everyone, we gotta speak our truth. It's calling myself out to then where I have to speak my truth. And I've been doing it lately, and I've been on a roll, and it's been making me feel very, very empowered to be able to follow through with my word, to let somebody know, like, hey, I'm really not feeling the way you're talking to me like that, and instead of just taking it, being respectful with our communication, and maybe putting a boundary down, like, hey, don't talk to me like that, but doing it compassionately, like you kind of said. It's very important that we all speak our truth, and that we all step into whatever power we have. I know all of us have something different to add to this world, and Tyrone's doing great work really uniting the people. I asked him, how else can I describe you? And he said, well, I'm a facilitator of harmony. And I just love that. I was like, wow. Tell us a little about your journey. You've studied yoga many different places, and you've done a whole lot. I don't truly know. I've just heard little tidbits in your classes. So if you could tell us a little about your journey, like kind of where you're from, where you've been, and what brings you here today.
Yeah, for me, at the age of 5 years old, I heard my first gunshot outside of my window. And I looked out the window, and it was a man who was lifeless. And as I watched him die, a part of my childhood died with him. And I grew up in an environment that was very impoverished, that was engulfed with drugs and just pain. And you see, people's parents that are strung out on drugs walking down the street asking you for money as a little kid. And then you go to another neighborhood and you see something different. And you say, why is this neighborhood different from the one I'm living in? And you start asking critical questions. And then it looks as though, as you talk about systems and governance, that it was created and didn't just happen by accident. So those are the seeds that were planted in me. And we all know that the hardest thing to get rid of is an idea well planted. And those seeds were planted, and I became aggressive and violent and mentally just not really sound. And one thing that got me out of that was nature. It was trees and rivers and being in parks and just listening to the wind. And then I was exposed to something called martial arts. And this guy named Bruce Lee. And everyone else who was interested in self-development. And those are the things that really started planting different kind of seeds. And Bruce Lee talked about the art of fighting without fighting. Like, we always can't use our fists to fight. and we have to learn new strategies on how to navigate through challenging situations. And those are the things that I started thinking about, like how do we change the narrative in which we live? And I wanted to get more discipline for myself, physically, spiritually, and mentally. So I was looking for like a Bruce Lee conditioning tape. And I was at Blockbuster at the time, and they had VHS. It was a long time ago. Everybody knows VHS, right? It was a VHS tape. And it was a Patricia Walden, took it home, and I didn't know anything about yoga. I had no idea what it was. And I went home and I was shaking, I was trying, and I was sweating. I was like, man, this is intense. And I started practicing every day from that point on. And I was working at a health club store, rep. And from there, I started practicing on my time off. And a guy said, hey man, do you mind if I join you? I'm like, man, I got this video at the house. I really don't know what I'm doing. He's like, man, you look like you know what you're doing. If you don't mind, I would love to join you. So from that point on, we started practicing. And other people started joining in every day. And the manager said, you kind of have to follow me without even having like a class. You know, have you ever thought about becoming an instructor? We'll pay you for it. And I said, I haven't, but how much you gonna pay me? And then I went and got certified, and then from that point on, started teaching in the classes. It grew and became pretty popular. I got invited to teach other places across the city, and then across the state, and then going to different places all over the nation, and that's kind of where it all started. It wasn't something I tried to do, it just kind of organically happened.
Wow. It's a beautiful journey we're all a part of, and we all get to co-create this amazing journey together and do some good work. And so, as my last question, I do a lot of these interviews completely spontaneous. I don't write out questions, I don't like have a preconceived expectation of how it's going to go or anything. I just follow the spontaneous miraculousness. And in this moment, I'm just feeling really called. A friend of mine was talking to me about how when he meets people, 80 or 90 years old, he puts them on the spot. It's like, give me your one piece of advice for us, or a lesson that you've learned in your life. And I don't think that age, you don't have to just be 80 to have wisdom. You don't have to just be 50 to have wisdom. You don't have to, wisdom can come from a 5-year-old too. Right? Kind of interesting to think about. But if I could put you on the spot and ask you, what's one lesson if you were going to meet a person and just, you knew that this was the only time you were going to get to meet them, and you wanted to leave them with something to empower them, how could you do that? Or how would you give your elevator advice or lesson of life?
Ooh, yeah. I think I would tell them, I think we all know that we live in a society that's very critical of each other. We're very judgmental, and we pull each other down often. So I would remind them. Actually, I had a couple of conversations with two people that I want to talk about, if that's okay, that kind of leads me to this. So I had a conversation a couple of years ago with a guy by the name of Joe Montana. Yeah, he's a 4-time Super Bowl champion. Joe Mama. There we go. And we talked about what does it take to be a champion. And what he said was, I never look for anybody else to blame. And I thought that was really profound because we live in a society that's, pointing the finger at everybody else but themselves. And I had another conversation with Don Cheadle, the actor that was in Crash, wonderful movies from Denver, went to East High School. And it was, what would you tell a young actor or actress who wants to pursue that career? And his response was, don't do it. Don't do it. It's hard. People are going to be critical of you. People are going to judge you. People are going to say you're not good enough. Why would you put yourself through that? And if you go get an education, then you have a better chance at a career, and you can pay your mortgage, and you can have a probably better relationship because you'll have more money in your pocket. And if that stops you, then it wasn't meant for you. Nothing I say should be able to change or alter what you do. So now what I say is, whenever you wait for someone to validate your worth, they will always have power over you. So just do you.
All right, my friends. So just do you out there on this video. Give it up to Tyrone Beverly, everybody. Share this video if you're watching it. Thank you guys. Thank you all. Come check us out every last Monday at Journeys for Conscious Living if you're still in there. All right, thank you, Scotty. All right, everybody.